Hi, my name's Eleanor. I am a conductor, I'm a music educator, and I'm a pianist. And you've probably seen me floating around either on YouTube Shorts or Instagram or TikTok. And basically, I love sharing what I know about being a professional musician and specifically a conductor with other people on the internet. So hopefully, that is why you are here. And the topic that I'm going to be talking about today is how to structure your rehearsal. And this is something that is really important that I found was really not discussed in my college and sometimes even my grad school conducting courses. That really, this is something that I started to figure out once I was actually on the podium in front of my own ensembles. And it is a bit of a challenge. So let's get into it. The first thing that is kind of key in figuring out is this really easy three-step process. First, you need to figure out how many minutes of a rehearsal you have. Then you need to divide that time by the amount of pieces and warm ups and breaks that you give generally. And the last part is that you want to adjust that time and what your calculator is giving you based off of the repertoire level and difficulty. So it's pretty easy. You just punch in, right? If let's say you've got a 60-minute period and you divide that by 4 or by 5, and it gives you a rough estimate as to how much time you should be spending on each element of your rehearsal. And just in doing that very, very, very simple equation, I learned that, wow, I am spending a lot of time in the beginning on small, minute details like attendance, warm up, the pedantic stuff, and then getting into a piece of music. I found that, at least for myself, I was spending too much time on the pieces at the beginning of the rehearsal cycle and then not enough time at the end. And that is so, so, so challenging. So, seeing like truly how little time we have in our rehearsal is the first step in coming to the realization that there really isn't that much time in our rehearsals and we have to be very efficient. So I have created a PDF. The rest of this video, what you're going to see is literally in the PDF form. If you click on any of the links found in the YouTube universe, you will be able to see it. It'll redirect you to my Stan store, and then you just select the button that is how to structure a rehearsal. But the first thing that you'll be finding on how to structure a rehearsal on the PDF is going to be this page right here. Let's see if we can get this little loom business out of the way. And so basically, in a 5-day-a-week rehearsal, when you have approximately 60 minutes to work with your ensemble, I like to divide this up into having a warm-up, and let's say that there are 4 main pieces that you're working on for your repertoire. So especially as you're starting to prepare for festival, you have four selections. And so here I just put 4 generic ones, but this could be, of course, transferred to a choral program, an orchestral program, or a wind ensemble program. And so I really like to bookend the weeks on day 1 and day 5 with a more varied sequence of rehearsing where we're covering everything, maybe a little bit more surface level. And this really helps kind of remove the brain dump that happens during the weekend where our students just forget like what we have been talking about in the previous week. And it's kind of like the summary day where we summarize at the beginning of the week and we summarize at the end of the week. Then I like to have 3 focus days in the middle of the week where we're working on different things. So if you notice on focus day, on day 2, which is the first focus day, we're only going to be working on 3 pieces. So perhaps those are the 3 harder pieces of your repertoire. And then on the second focus day, which is the middle day of the week, maybe you are spending a significant amount of time on 2 of the pieces of repertoire. So a full 20 minutes on 2 selections. Maybe potentially these are the 2 harder pieces. And then you sub out something shorter for the third piece. And then over here for the fourth day, we kind of mirror the same type of focus day that happened on day 2, which was the first focus day. But again, we're swapping out the pieces. And then, of course, on the final day, the very day, it's about an even amount of time for each one of the pieces as well as the repertoire. And so this is just a very good, solid, generic structure that you can plug and play into your program if you have a traditional 5-day-a-week rehearsal structure. Now, let's talk about block schedule because this is really popular right now. A lot of schools are adopting the block schedule format. And so, of course, it comes with its pros and cons. Yes, you get longer periods of time when you're working with your students, but you don't see them as often. And so I found that this works pretty well, especially in a choral environment. But if you are a band director and you've got musicians that need to have the instrument on their face more days a week, it can kind of be a little bit challenging. Additionally, because you have to factor in face fatigue. So if they're playing one day, but then not another day, at the end of your rehearsal, your brass players especially, and even your woodwind players, they're going to have a lot more fatigue in their faces. So again, we're going to keep the same structure of it being similar to a festival preparation season where you're going to have a bigger warm up on day 1 because we're coming out of the weekend, and so I like to focus on technique at the beginning of the week in a block schedule, and then you have approximately pretty even breakdown of rehearsal time for the rest of your pieces. I wouldn't generally give too much of a break on a block schedule because for 90 minutes, if we're rehearsing efficiently, then we're going to be having little mini breaks where maybe we're working on one section, for a minute or two, and then other folks aren't having to sing or play. They can work on something else, like writing in solfege syllables or doing air and fingers for woodwinds and brass, or if you've got string players and they're fingering along on the fingerboard so that they're getting in that practice time, but it's not full on playing, and so we're resting muscles. Then for focus day 2, I really like having some big chunks of time for the hard pieces. And then I find that that's really significant for the learning process of these works. So many times, like, we don't want to work on the stuff that doesn't sound good, so we don't give it enough time in rehearsal, but we are really doing a disservice to our students in our program when we're not spending an appropriate amount of time on the work. So having a dedicated focus day where you're like, yes, I'm going to attack all of the like gross and icky parts of this piece of music is really important. And then you'll notice that for this second day, the warm up and technique time is the shortest out of all of the days of the week. And that's on purpose, of course, because we want to be focusing on repertoire in day 2, especially in comparison to the first day, where it is a very significant warm up day. But then you'll notice that for the third day, this is a true varied day where every single section is about the same amount of time that we're going to be rehearsing each piece and the warm-ups and getting all of that done. And so that way on the last day that you see your students, again, it's a review, a recap, the summary of what we have worked on together in the classroom this week. And then hopefully there is slightly less brain dumping into the trash can when they're not playing for the weekend. Now, the last type of rehearsal breakdown that we have here is going to be your college or community ensemble schedule. And for myself, this is really the one that I do the most between my college gig, which rehearses for 3 hours, and then my Colburn bands, which rehearse for 2.5 hours. All of these are only once a week. And so as an average, I just put 150 minutes here. But in this schedule, this is what I do account for a break in this larger rehearsal time, because even for myself, we have to give our brain some time to kind of like, decompress a little bit. And so I give a 15-minute break. Sometimes if I'm really pressed for time, I'll only give 10 minutes, but I find that sometimes 10 minutes isn't enough time for everybody to use the restroom, grab some water, eat a snack. And then if you've got woodwind and brass players, you want them to rinse their mouths afterwards. And so for a varied day, I'm going to have approximately an even amount of time on everything because everything is important, and this is what we have to work on, and we have to get through all of the literature all the time, because if you don't rehearse something at one rehearsal, then it's going to be literally an entire week before you see your musicians again and get to work on that literature. So for me, that's too much time. 2 weeks is too long to not be working on a piece of music. There are a few exceptions of when I might actually not rehearse a piece of music. And that's something that I discuss more in depth, in addition to also discussing the structure of an entire music program, not just the specific rehearsal, but how do you look at the macro form of your rehearsal cycle in preparation for a concert, in preparation for a festival, and how does that work? I discuss all of this a little bit more in depth in my conducting membership course, which is called the Confident Conductor. Again, you can find that in the YouTube links all around. And I have so much information in this course specifically designed for K through 12 music educators that are looking to increase their confidence as a conductor, run more efficient rehearsals, improve their conducting techniques, and bringing artistry back onto the podium in the classroom, because this is something that is really missing in our middle school, even elementary and high school classrooms, where we're focused so much on getting a superior at our festival, but there isn't as much not even importance, but there's just not enough support for the director themselves to improve their personal technique. And part of that is because our undergrad conducting courses didn't really prepare us enough in the conducting side of our teaching. And that's not necessarily the university's fault, but just there's so much limited time, and I found this need in the community. So I decided to take my expertise and help satisfy that. And so this is what the inside of my conducting course looks like. It's called the Confident Conductor. It is essentially the nicest looking learning management system that you'll ever find. So much better than Canvas, so much better than Blackboard and Blackbot and Tadpole and all these other ones that I've used. And so what I really love is that in addition to it being like an actual class where there is asynchronous and synchronous videos and participation for you, but it's also a community where people can post, right? We have welcome posts. I have maestro moments where people's wins in their program, broken baton blues, which is like if you've got a hardship in your program that you need, community support for. People, all musicians and educators are full of great answers and great advice. I've got my expertise, but that doesn't mean that I'm an expert in absolutely everything. So it's really cool to be able to reach out to other music educators internationally, actually, that are able to provide their perspective in this. And so in the classroom portion, these are the modules. These are just a couple modules that I have that fit within my screenshot. Let's be real about it, right? And so I've got hours upon hours of content pre-recorded for you on, of course, how to structure your rehearsal, how to structure your program, conducting, resetting your entire conducting base and foundation so that you can be more expressive. You can conduct with less pain and tension in your body, go for longer periods of times. You're going to find that all here under the basics. Confidence, we're talking about performance anxiety, how to become more confident on the podium. How does imposter syndrome really affect us as musicians. I even have a little podcast for you, practicing tips within my membership community. Everybody gets all of my digital downloads, PDFs, my Google Sheets, spreadsheets. Everything is included in this. Of course, I also have a place for you to include your questions. And so here's a little example of some of the asynchronous instruction. What's the difference between the asynchronous versus synchronous instruction that you'll receive here? And then the part that I'm really excited about that keeps expanding is what I call being a black belt in the basics of conducting. This is gold right here. This is about 45 minutes to an hour of pre-recorded video that I have created for you that I ask all my students to see, because then when we get into the live sessions, we're building upon this, and it really gets into movement theory, how we're connecting our breath to our baton, resetting our position, and really conducting from a place of relaxation. I've got exercises for you to practice in here, ways for you to follow along, ways to check in with me on your progress. Oh, it's so good. So good. And then the other thing that I'm very excited about, you can see what's coming up in April, is that every 2 weeks we do a live Q&A plus lecture topic. So every single 2 weeks I get on Zoom with you and I give you essentially what is equivalent to like a college lecture on a specific topic on conducting or running your program. And it's really cool. And I also answer any questions that people may have, and there's a way to submit your questions ahead of time. And for every single one of these live sessions, I record them, I re-upload them back into the module for the Zoom replays. I give a full like point by point breakdown of the video, so that in case you don't have enough time to watch it, like you can at least get like the big nuggets of information. So here's that example, right? We talked about how to structure a rehearsal, but if you notice, this video is over an hour long, and that's because what I was speaking about to these lovely students is really important information that also includes structuring your program as well. I have a Google Sheets for structuring that program, and of course, the point by point detailed outline of the call, as well as a PDF that I share with them. So, really, it's just so much value for you. And then, it's really cool to see your students and colleagues and the people that you work with succeed in working with you. And I happen to be a conductor and an educator, and so I really enjoy sharing what I know and helping other people improve, especially improve their conducting, improve their pedagogy, connect with their students more. And so, yeah, it's really exciting for me. And I hope that you'll take a look at it and see if it's something that fits for you as well. Because improving your conducting is so hard. We can do summer festivals, but they're so expensive, and that's just not realistic for so many of us, of attending festivals and workshops that cost hundreds, lots, even thousands of dollars to attend. And that's not even including your airfare and your hotel and all of the travel expenses. That's literally just tuition to participate. And then, of course, getting a master's in this, like what I did, is also a huge investment, a huge multi-thousand-dollar investment, and a huge time investment. So I've just really tried to package what I know into something that is financially accessible for us educators and musicians, so that we can all learn from each other. And yeah, so I really hope that you check it out. Bye.